Stand by for a brand new episode of All Things Good and Nerdy.
Hey there, Internet people, and welcome to episode 495 of the All Things Good and Nerdy podcast. We're recording this live on Thursday, August 4th, 2022. It is currently 2:45 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm mentioning this now because we'll mention again later why that is important, because there's likely news dropping while we record this. So if it drops while we record and we don't see it, we may not get to cover it. So don't skewer us for not covering it. Just putting that out there right now. I'm Chris. Joining me today, I'll start first with the usual band of suspects. One, Mr. Anthony Bachman.
Discovery dipshit leaves WB naked and afraid.
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert. Jeez.
No one puts the title out that I want to use, so I'm using the title.
Because no one's going to put dipshit in a title for something that's get published.
They should.
Did I point out that when I turn up, the swearing happens a lot more frequently than without me?
We don't need much help on that front. Also,
that's true.
Here, Mr. Willie D. Nelson.
Hey! I hope you're not looking for any witty, comical throwback your way.
I never
straight
am.
Babu on you. Hey,
I never am. And then returning, making his triumphant return. We haven't had him here in a while. You might know him as Peter G. You might know him as Sailor Poland. Peter G's back.
Hello. Motorola phones suck ass. Thank you very much. That's my bet.
All we had to do is have Big Bad Business Daddy come and cancel a bunch of geeky stuff, and Peter comes back to hang out with us. I don't know if the cost is worth it, Peter. I like having you on the show, but it's a heavy, heavy toll.
I knew the job was dangerous when I took it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so if you guys didn't realize, part of what we're going to get into today, because part of why Peter emailed to ask to come on the show, is there's a lot of, how do we put it this way? Shall we call it a fuckery that abounds? That we're getting
full-blown fuckery.
A full-blown fuckery.
If we're going to be polite, let's call it activity. There's a lot of activity.
There's a lot of activity coming out of the...
This many people getting fired, it's a fuckery. Because people are getting fucked.
Call it a cluster.
So let me set it up real quick before we get into it. There's a lot of activity going on with the combined Warner Brothers Discovery Company. We've known the combo is happening for a while. The new leadership's been in place. And now there's a lot of cuts to projects, people, and all sorts of things going on. And if you've been on the geek side of Twitter or Facebook or Reddit, you've seen a lot of concern, questioning, in general, what the fucks from people about what's going on. And the most recent thing to have kicked off was, 2 days ago at this point in time? The internet's going crazy with it. And now we're getting more and more, and we'll get into some of the rumors. And why I mentioned that we're recording this at 2:45 p.m. Eastern on Thursday the 4th is the Warner Discovery earnings call should be going on either now or right after we record this. So there should be news coming up about things that are coming out of that call. And we have seen things reported that there's going to be a lot more cuts of DC properties. And we'll touch on that later in the show because we've gotten some information on that.
No.
But we don't have it yet, so we can't officially report on it. So we're going to report on what we know. And granted, we're not known for our journalistic standards or anything like this, but we're going to talk about what we know, give some opinions. And if more news drops while we're recording the podcast, we will try and bring it up then and discuss it live. So we're just going to, it's a packed news thing. We're not even going to do our standard back and forth and chit chat. Let's just roll straight into the news of the week.
Do it.
Live from the ATGN studios on the internet, it's the news of the week.
So welcome to the news of the week. This is where we talk about what's going on in the world of geeky and nerdy things. And hey, I already touched on it already. We're going to talk a lot about what's coming out of Warner Discovery. And let's start with what kicked things off. The whole reason that Peter G wanted to come and chat with us today. Peter, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Everybody be right. Please notice that my mug here has the official Pisswasser logo on it. Because it's going to be one of those kinds of days. So before we begin, I want to start off with a little story about Warner Brothers and their history of making very, very questionable decisions when it comes to what gets greenlit and what doesn't. In 1974, Mel Brooks made a little movie called Blazing Saddles, an absolute classic. Well, Brooks made sure to have the contract ironclad. For example, he had final cuts so they couldn't say you have to remove this, you have to remove that and everything. And among them was clauses that they could not make sequels and stuff without his authorization, because he didn't want anything else after Blazing Saddles. He wanted it to stand alone. He blamed his agent for this, but apparently there was a clause in there that Warner Brothers would not have the rights if the property fell into disuse. This is a standard clause. And this is why some cable networks will keep their shows on at like 3 a.m. so that technically they're still in compliance with the contract and they can keep the rights. So Warner Brothers wound up making 4 seasons of a sitcom called Black Bart about Bart from the Blazing Saddles movie. It starred Louis Gossett Jr. They made 4 seasons of it. Not a single episode made it to air. The pilot is available on one of the Blazing Saddles DVDs if you want to see it. But the fact is, after 4 seasons, they concluded they weren't going to do anything with it. They weren't going to make another one, and they let it fall apart. But they shot 4 years worth of a TV show that they never intended to air for no other reason than just to keep the rights active so they could make a sequel. So Warner Brothers has a tendency to do things that has you going, wait, what? And we now have this again with the news from 2 days ago. I get off work, I stop for dinner, and I take out my computer, and all of a sudden my feed starts exploding with reports that Warner Brothers has killed the Batgirl movie. And by killed, as in it is shelved, it will not be in the theaters, it will not be on streaming, it will not be on video, nothing. It is basically been, as George Orwell would say, it has been unpersoned from existence. This movie had a budget of $75 million. It ballooned up to, I wouldn't say ballooned up to 90 because $15 million is nothing when it comes to this stuff.
I'll take 15 mil.
It was COVID reshoots too. So they would have been in their budget if they hadn't had to do like the COVID delays.
Yeah, but $15 million, I mean, I see movies that go over budget by 200. Give me a fucking break. I mean, even Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, went over budget, so. But it was $90 million. It was either done or like just a few weeks away from being done being shot. We already had the teaser trailer. People were going around on publicity tours. And, of course, you know, the return of Michael Keaton as Batman in 3 movies, 2 of which are gone, which we'll get to in a minute. But they announced that they were going to kill it, and it's gone. Complete history. And the right-wing dickheads are celebrating that we're winning the culture war because the woke Batgirl got canceled.
Starring, written, and directed by people of color.
So one thing we should also bring up in regards to this, too, is the original reports came out and said that it just basically bombed all of its test screenings. Well, you wait a day. Those reports all then got refined, which came down to there was 1 test screening of Batgirl. It didn't have the special effects ready. It was on par with what a movie should be at this phase, and it got so-so results. And then they brought up a point of comparing it to other movies that got screened similarly at a similar state that got so-so results that then hit it big. So the original talking point is horse crap, as near as I can tell, where they were saying that it bombed in multiple different screenings. And I will fully admit my opinion changed a little bit when it came to that fact. Because originally when they said, hey, all the test screenings were really bad and no one liked it, I went, okay, I might understand their logic here of, hey, this is someone else's baby that was made before we took over this company. If it's going to bomb, it's better just to eat the cost and not get beat up for putting out a crappy movie. Because remember, people on the internet and the people that would want to go see these movies have long memories and will long beat you over the head with the fact that you put a crappy movie out. But that has seemingly been debunked based off of reporting I'd seen from Hollywood Reporter and a couple other places. And it was 1 test screening has been done.
Right. Well, not only that, but also they're not going to let a little something like that get in the way. I mean, for crying out loud, Batman and Robin was a total piece of shit.
You're not wrong.
But you don't see people holding Batgirl in that over everyone's head. They just kind of laugh nervously and move on with whatever else there is.
You're not wrong.
A character whose parents died in a car accident, but she does illegal street racing. How does that make any fucking sense? Give me a break.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that one of those original talking points had gone away, which I think could have legitimately changed some people's opinion once those talking points were adjusted and shifted.
Yeah, well, I mean, test screenings are such a part of things nowadays that I don't see why if you have Disney Plus, there's a documentary series called Into the Unknown that tracks the creation of Frozen 2. And that thing just would not come together no matter how hard they tried. every test screening just came back with people who were confused or were lost or they didn't know how to incorporate elements of the movie. Rise of Skywalker, that had disastrous test screenings. All kinds of movies have disastrous test screenings. And that's kind of the whole point of this, is because we've gotten to an age where, thanks to digital, instead of having to develop film and everything, you no longer have to get it right the first time. The Pixar model of you take it, you do your basic, and you refine it based on test screenings is the standard way to go. There is no way Batgirl, no matter what anyone says, was unsalvageable at this point. There had to be a way to do it if they had just stuck with it.
If they wanted to.
Right.
Correct. I mean, I guess what it also came down to, and if I'm stepping on one of your talking points, I apologize, is that what has been reported is part of why they're canceling it is they can basically make it a tax write-off so that there's no risk.
That, I mean, it makes sense, but at the same time, it doesn't hold a lot of weight because, you know, for $90 million, first of all, you can either bury it on streaming where you don't have to worry about hiding the numbers because that doesn't get out anyway.
Right.
And two, the other movie that they canceled was the sequel to the animated Scooby-Doo movie, which was $40 million. Scooby-Doo is an evergreen. Keep in mind, I don't like Scooby-Doo. Lots of people do, though. They keep making more and more direct-to-video movies. They keep making more cartoons and stuff. This thing is practically a license to print money. And they canceled it for a $40 million tax write-off. They would have made more than that in the merchandising. So no, I'm not buying. Buying the tax write-off.
Well,
and especially, Batwoman's a $90 million movie, so that's 3 episodes of Game of Thrones. That's your big tax write-off.
We should also point out that part of what is being put out as their talking points as to why they're canceling these projects is they do not want these hybrid streaming and in-theater projects anymore. They want to make big prestige event superhero movies and stuff like that, is what has been reported and put out there. Whether you believe that, I think it's an excuse. Whether the excuse is the truth or not, I don't know.
Well, and part of it is the CEO running HBO Max before was the guy that co-created Hulu, right? And then got all the HBO different streaming services into one thing and made them all work. And then he gets shit canned for the new Discovery guy who, will put naked people on TV because it costs nothing to film, and he gets, commercial money.
Well, we should also clarify that it looks like about 70% of the HBO Max staff is being laid off now. A lot of that being the in-house developers that were updating and maintaining the app, which then brings around to that current meme you've seen floating around the internet with the customer satisfaction surveys, where HBO Max is 92 or 94% satisfied, yet they're stripping all the content out of that and killing the service.
That app is about to go to shit.
It explains why I've been hearing the rumors that James Gunn is in negotiations with Marvel again.
Yeah.
Because originally he was back with HBO Max and, I'm developing 3 new series for HBO Max and season 2 of Peacekeeper. Or Peacemaker. I keep calling you Peacekeeper. God damn it.
I'll murder anybody for peace.
Yeah. But now all of a sudden there's rumors that he's negotiating with something that high level is not a fake rumor.
Right.
So it's like, and of course, let's not forget, Nolan pulled up stakes from Warner Brothers and went to Universal. He's not coming back.
No.
So
yeah, but he's also working on a franchise that doesn't exist and never will because they keep trying to do the same thing that DC is. We want the Avengers, but we don't want to do Iron Man. Where they want to launch the Dark Universe, but nobody wants to make a good mummy movie.
Well, we also need to look at the trend of what we've seen since the new leadership came over into Warner Brothers Discovery. And we're not the great experts at this, but we notice a lot of things, and I hear a lot about it because I have sort of a vested interest because I have programming potentially impacted, which is Discovery has been all about reality TV and weird stuff like that because it's dirt cheap to make and people will consume it. Look at TBS and TNT prior to this acquisition. They had scripted content that was pretty good. That was getting a lot of buzz on it. And sports, of course, because they also got an NHL contract and college basketball and NBA playoffs, stuff like that. Look at what happened post-acquisition, which is all of the scripted stuff on TBS and TNT has been canceled or has been saying this is the last season because they've already filmed it. The sports are still there.
TNT owned by Discovery now?
Yes, TBS and TNT are Discovery now.
Yeah, it's under the Warner Brothers, the Time Warner label. So.
I guess it's good. The only thing I watch on there is wrestling.
Well, that's not necessarily good. We'll touch on that in a second. But the only scripted television show that has not been canceled on TNT, TBS right now, American Dad. The only one so far. We assume it's probably coming because they don't seem to have much interest in scripted content, but it's still there.
Look at what's going on with Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network is now going back into live action programming with unscripted stuff. And a special fuck you to the head of Cartoon Network, who was saying that the reason for the pivot is they're trying to retain female viewership and girls age out of animation. I have shows like Steven Universe, the reboot of She-Ra, Adventure Time that say otherwise.
Right.
It's Lauren Faust practically makes her whole career making stuff because she understands what girls want to watch, and she makes it entertaining enough that boys want to watch it too. Don't tell me girls age out. You just don't feel like putting in the work to make something worthwhile. You're being lazy.
It's very confusing, the path that they're taking here, and as to why it's good other than cutting costs to look profitable. Because my understanding is there was a bunch of debt with Warner Brothers when Discovery acquired them. So part of what's going on is the CEO is cutting costs to try and make the company look more profitable on the balance sheet because of the inherited debt and stuff like that. But that's problematic because a lot of these things that we like are not necessarily cheap. It's not cheap to do a superhero movie. It's not necessarily cheap to do a bunch of animated series and things like that, especially when you compare it to the cost of put 6 people in a room and hire 3 cameramen.
And don't forget, one of the things that DC has complained about and Warner Brothers is that DC Comics are not profitable. So this is the type of idiot that would cut the comics line because it'll save them money today. And then 10 years from now, they won't have any stories to even make movies out of because they won't have any new comic book stories.
There's an interesting thought process out there that I think is just interesting from a conjecture standpoint. And I don't know that it necessarily happens. But if you want to clear stuff off the balance sheet and make some money, let's say in theory, and I don't think this is initially going to happen, that Warner Discovery decides to spin off DC and sell it. How much do you think they get? Because we know how much they got from Marvel. And who do you think buys it? And don't say Disney, because I don't think Disney's going to own both.
No.
Disney was considering buying Warner Brothers before they settled on Fox, so don't count them out.
That's true. I mean, but do we think it's possible they sell it? I mean, I'd give it like a 20% chance. I don't think it's super possible because they want to make the movies at some point.
I think in the long run, if they sell it, it's better for the fans.
Maybe
because the Discovery decisions are not helping.
Maybe not sell it. Maybe license it out. Because remember, there was back in, I think it was the 80s, there was talk of DC licensing Superman stuff to Marvel, and I think John Byrne even wrote like a few scripts for the reboot under Marvel. So they might not sell it. They might just license it out because licensing is where the money's at, because you can always just hand it around to someone else. It's part of the reason why Eastman and Laird built such an empire, because they didn't actually sell the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They just licensed it. And so they were always getting paid no matter what. It was only recently that they sold it off.
Hell, at one point, didn't Eastman buy a tank? I mean, yeah, those boys had money.
I mean, I guess the other question is, do you potentially have someone who unsolicited comes up to them and says, hey, I'll offer you X amount for DC and all of the properties with it? I don't know.
Well, who would do it, though? I mean,
Disney's the only one I could think of that could afford it.
AT&T, because they bought Apple, right?
No.
What?
AT&T doesn't own Apple.
AT&T does not own Apple.
Who has
AT&T
Apple?
sold Warner.
Let's say, does anyone own Apple?
Why would they buy it back?
I can't keep up. There's too many damn companies.
AT&T was business daddy.
Sorry, what?
Did you watch Last Week Tonight with John Oliver?
Mm-mm.
Not recently.
He used to rip on HBO all the time. He used to rip on the Warner executives and stuff like that, and called them, and AT&T specifically, and would call their service shit and things like that. Like, oh no, are you mad at me, business daddy? And mock them.
Nice.
Business. Okay.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I can't keep up with who owns who yet. But yeah, I mean, like, if Disney bought them, that would be awful, because then that, like we talked about it last week, that gets rid of the competition between the big two. One of the reasons Marvel and DC have profited and done well over the years is two companies fighting against each other, trying to come out with the best stories.
You are so out of it. It is not competition. It is a duopoly that they cooperate in making. Their main thing was to kill off all the indies from the 80s and the 90s. First Comics, Eclipse Comics, they did everything they could to destroy the indie market so that they were the only two games in town. So it's not competition. They're not trying to one-up each other. They're both trying to maintain the same market. It's the same thing. I'm going to keep this nice and short so it's not a political rant, but it's the same thing with Democrats and Republicans. they are actually working together to keep the system in place, because if anybody comes in and actually changes things, both of them lose their phony baloney jobs. So it's not even a question of competition. They're in the thick as thieves.
I don't know that Disney is in the market to acquire them right now anyways for what the asking price would be. Mostly because we're just now coming out of pandemic depressed park visits and things like that. So money and a new creative, or a new CEO rather, means that that's probably a bit more than I would want to spend at this point in time. If I had to guess, I'm no business expert or anything like that. This is just me theorizing.
Well, and Disney's kind of in trouble. What's his name? Chapek is the guy currently in
Bob
charge?
Chapek.
Yeah.
He's currently under siege because everyone's not happy with his business decisions, even though he's been making sure to bring in money from the people who are willing to spend money. So any decision they make is going to be put under. And don't forget the rumors that they wrecked Hasbro buying DreamWorks. So I'm guessing you never heard. The rumor goes that the reason DreamWorks wound up at Universal is because Hasbro had been talking about buying them up because they want something to help exploit their properties. And Disney came up to them and said, hey, you know that Star Wars license you make so much money off of? You buy DreamWorks, we're going to partner with Mattel, your competition, instead. So Hasbro pulled out negotiations, and then all of a sudden, their hated rivals, Universal, because when it comes to conflict, Universal and Disney have been like this since the beginning, swooped in, grabbed DreamWorks, and that's how they wound up there, according to the rumor.
Yes.
Remember, where did Disney get his start? At Universal.
So I don't know. I think this was just a thought exercise of where they'd go. I don't think they're going anywhere because despite all of the cuts we're seeing, and we'll get to some of the rumored stuff, there's money to be made, but they have to invest to make that money. So I don't know.
Well, they own two of the most money-making IPs of all time. They own Batman and Superman. They give money to the families now, but they still own those characters. If they give up those characters, it will be the dumbest business decision any executive involved in Warner Bros. Ever makes.
Three pieces of this story make me sad. 3 pieces. One, Batgirl's canceled. That's actually bad news. That's already been done because Brendan Fraser was going to be in that.
And Michael Keaton.
Yeah, Firefly.
I said Brendan Fraser. And I hope not to hear Doom Patrol is canceled for the same reason. And reason 3, there's reason 1 and 2. What more do you need?
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah. And he is awesome on Doom Patrol. He is. He's amazing. I want to see him as Firefly. I'll bet that would be fantastic.
We're seeing the elimination of the return of Michael Keaton as Batman. I mean, they've already reshot the scenes at Aquaman 2 with Ben Affleck. So that means that the only place we will potentially see the Michael Keaton Batman is the Flash movie,
which I'm still hoping gets destroyed.
Yeah.
All right.
It's the one movie that needs to be canceled.
I have a question here. Maybe you guys can fill this in.
Mm-hmm.
So you still got Ben Affleck Batman. Why'd they make the Batman? I mean, I love the Batman movie, but why keep going? I don't know what
Matt Reeves.
How'd they get to that?
Here's how it works. Disney is a producer-focused company. That's why Kevin Feige is in charge of everything. He's the guiding hand. Warner Brothers is a director-focused studio. So people come in with their own visions. And as a result, you don't have anything unifying things.
You have no continuity.
That's why it happens. Yeah.
Basically, Marvel we're going to do Marvel Comics continuity in the movies and make the movies all work off of each other. Everything's connected. Storylines go together. Characters appear here, appear over there. DC went, everything's in Elseworlds. Everything's a different multiverse. Everything's separate.
Well,
there's 9
and then
Batmans.
they changed their mind 6 times.
Yeah, then they went back and forth because they've never had one person making decisions that actually, 1, gave a shit about the characters, and 2, was allowed to make those decisions long enough to build a cohesive universe.
Okay, so I'm going to say an unpopular thing here. I don't particularly care for Zack Snyder's interpretation of Superman, things like that. But the man obviously cared about the stuff he was doing and the world he was trying to build. It's not something I cared for the direction of, but that was their potential play.
Yeah. He tried to build dark DC, and he had a bad take on Superman, but the rest of it was good.
Yeah, and I don't dispute that I don't care for the stuff, but the simple fact of the matter is that was their plan when everything was unified. And tragedy happened. He was unable to finish the movie. They handed it off to Joss Whedon, and then everything changed again, which was, we're just going to do our own tales that are in separate universes where characters may or may not move back and forth, and it was confusing. But they did go that path at one point in time. It just didn't work out. And again, like Peter mentioned, this was a director-focused thing. It was the director, Zack Snyder, is going to be the guiding hand for the DC Extended Universe. It wasn't someone's going to come in and bring in multiple directors to shape this universe, a la the Marvel method we've seen.
Well, because they had fallen into that pattern with Nolan. From the fall of the Schumacher Batmans, I'm saying after Neon and Nipples, they're like, no, Batman's dead, no one can bring it back. And Christopher Nolan showed up to DC and came at them with a trilogy and did 3 amazing Batman films in a row. And so then the only thing that DC executives understood was they have to be dark and gritty to make money. They got stuck in the dark and gritty mind. They tried to make every movie like it was 1992 again in comics. Everything's got to be dark and gritty. And so that's what they went forward with. And it flopped because that doesn't work for every character. It really only works for Batman.
Mm-hmm. Well, we also had things shift, which was if they had pushed that out before the MCU had really taken hold, we might be talking a different story here. But remember, Batman v Superman came out opposite, and we all laughed. Marvel's going to get their ass kicked. Came out opposite Captain America 3. And we're like, oh my God, Marvel's going to get their ass kicked. When that was first announced, because it's Batman and Superman. Push
Batman
up the DC stuff
Superman
a couple years.
Made less than $1 billion. How do you get that wrong?
Right. And here's what I'm saying. Push that up a couple years. The Batman v Superman thing, the grim, dark stuff like that, before you've gotten as much of the foothold in of, hey, here's what we've established with the MCU, where there are dark moments, but it doesn't have to be all dark. You can have inspiring, heroic people. We might be talking about a different set of circumstances here. And I'm not trying to turn this into MCU versus Warner Discovery / DC here, but I think there's valid comparisons to be made.
But from the standpoint of just
the
movies, I mean, you can learn from what they're doing. So absolutely. It's just a question of what lessons you're taking away from it is all.
I mean, and whether it's their intent or not, you look at the stuff they've been canceling, and we'll get to the rumored stuff too. And it's not a lot of, it's, how do I put this best? It's not the straight white male stuff that's getting canceled.
Nope. Outside of The Rock, who I'm just not even going to say the phrase I was going to say. But The Rock is good because he's put 10 years in with DC. The Black Adam film is coming out. Like, there's no way to stop
The Rock's star power transcends anyone making a dumb decision there.
The biggest racist in the world will call The Rock a good guy because he's The Rock. Mm-hmm. But other than him, if it's not something starring a straight white male, directed by a straight white male, it's probably not coming out from DC Warner Brothers in the next 10 years.
Yeah, I've said this recently on my Facebook page. I said that, and I gave an illustrating example. What I said was that anytime a person complains that something has gone woke, what they're really saying is, I can't jerk off to this and it makes me angry. My proof of this is that
you got Willie's attention.
Well, what's this proof that they're not just...
Okay. Street Fighter V. Street Fighter V story mode says that Cammy and Chun-Li are not only in a lesbian relationship, but they've adopted a daughter together. They can jerk off to this and it makes them happy, so they don't call it woke. Street Fighter 6, Cammy's getting a pair of pants. Now everyone's saying that it's gone woke because they can't jerk off to it and it makes them angry.
They finally put pants on Cammy. It took them, 5 games? Jeez.
Yeah, well, that's just the games. We're not talking the actual time, because she hasn't had pants since, 92 when she first appeared?
Something like that.
Yeah, so...
It's a military combatant who wears basically a body stocking thong into combat. What?
Yeah. And everybody was fine with it until she put pants on. Then all of a sudden, it's gone woke. Had no problems with the homosexuality that they could jerk off to, but cover up those thighs, and all of a sudden, it's gone woke.
Gone woke is just the buzzword for stuff anymore that people want to decide they don't like for no good, that they don't want to like because it makes them uncomfortable with some thoughts or feelings they have they would not want to express publicly. So they just say it's gone woke.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if they're complaining about something as a propaganda piece. You know, was it called Forces of Nature? It was a Mel Gibson movie. It was supposed to be a heist movie that took place in Puerto Rico, but there isn't a single non-white person anywhere in the movie. So, and it's like, yeah, for all the people complaining about woke entertainment, that movie bombed. Where was your support for that? But people talking about the new Lord of the Rings series on Amazon, it's gone woke. It's like, how do you know? We haven't even seen it yet. Besides, it's got Sybil Danning, who's the Amazonian princess of Hollywood. That woman can beat you up.
These are probably the same people going, why'd they have to go and make Star Trek political? And you go, Star Trek has always been political and had a message. Political.
Yeah, from the unaired pilot, the XO was a woman, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. And we do have to say, moment of silence, rest in power. We lost Uhura.
Yeah.
We lost Nichelle Nichols this week, which was sad, but it was awesome to see all the outpouring of love for such a wonderful lady. That, I mean, I hate seeing it when when a celebrity dies, but it's always cool when everything you see about them coming out is how great they were and how they use their power to move people's movements forward. Mm-hmm. That is always lovely to see, which we don't always see that when people go. And so it was nice to see that. And I mean, especially like the post that William Shatner and George Takei put out about her were just heartbreaking. Like, the original cast is getting smaller and smaller, the people that are still around from that show. And it's just going to be sad when, we all know it's going to be Shatner standing at the end because he's going to outlive them all. Because I think, the man is unkillable.
he draws his power from his toupee.
That's a strong toupee.
Well, I haven't watched Strange New Worlds. I haven't been because I don't like any Kurtzman. I've heard, but Kurtzman Trek leaves such a bad taste in my mouth. I don't want to watch it. But I've been joining in the fun of making fun of Captain Pike and his hair. And there was one guy, he did a picture of Captain Pike, but drawn like Johnny Bravo with the hair all the way up.
And just for clarification, Force of Nature is the Mel Gibson movie. Forces of Nature was the Sandy Bullock, Ben Affleck romantic comedy.
Okay.
We're not conflating those two.
How dare we?
I was like, well, Peter G said Forces of Nature. I'm like, wait a second, that's the Sandra Bullock movie. That can't be right. I had to look it up. It's Mel Gibson's movie. It's called Force of Nature.
Yeah. I saw this great movie called National Velvet. That was Blue Velvet, you idiot.
Slight difference.
So we've got more news on the Warner Discovery front based off of some leaks that came out today, which bigger comic media is starting to cover. I've seen on Twitter. But before we get there, we meandered a lot. Was there something specific on Batgirl that we had missed that you wanted to talk about still, or?
No, just the amazement that they're canceling this film that's nearly finished. Meanwhile, I mean, it's like everybody left in the DCEU is either canceled or a sexual predator. And
it's the Just Us League.
Yeah, it just amazes me that Batgirl gets sacked, but Ezra Miller is still in their stable. They should have sacked him right away as soon as everything started out.
I still have hope that film gets reshot. That's my one hope for DC.
Well, so we talked about this in our chat. Based off of what I've read about this movie is if they were going to reshoot the movie, they're reshoot just his scenes. They're basically reshooting like 90+% of the movie because Ezra as Barry or one of Barry's variants is pretty much in every scene of the movie is what they've said.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we're going to get rid of Batgirl. That costs $90 million. Hey, let's throw a few more million at the Flash movie. Maybe we'll get something out of it. Yeah, I wasn't entirely sold on Batgirl, but I was willing to give it a shot.
Yeah, I was in the same boat.
I gave Pattinson
Brendan Fraser.
That was a piece of shit. So I'm willing to give Batgirl a shot, but
Brendan Fraser.
So we do know that Batgirl and the Scoob sequel are officially canceled. That came out. There's been publishment from Warner Discovery. They've had their PR folks talking about it after the initial blowback on it. What we don't know,
Scoob.
What we don't know is what is getting canceled next. And why I wanted to bring that up is we've been talking about the Warner Discovery ongoing, we'll go with fuckery again, on the Gonna Geek Discord over at gonnageek.com/Discord. Yes, that is a cheap plug. You can go join us over there as we're talking about it in one of our channels. And one of our posters in there had shared something they saw in another Discord. It's a screenshot that was and I'm just going to read the post here and say, cancellations abound. I work at Warner Brothers Discovery offices in Manhattan. More film and TV shows will be announced canceled at our earnings call tomorrow. This was posted yesterday on Wednesday the 3rd. Today is August the 4th, which is when the earnings call is happening, presumably while we record this. They have a list that they say is the purported list of upcoming canceled television shows and films. Oh, and also video games. And it's kind of surprising, some of them, and some of them not. And we'll step through this list. We'll go one property at a time. The first thing they talk about saying is canceled is the Blue Beetle program, which they are filming, and we've seen costumes and we've seen stills from on set. But this person who purports to work at the film and television division there has said Blue Beetle is canceled.
Yeah, and that's
the kid from Cobra Kai, so your lead is a person of color.
Well, not only that, but also, I mean, George Lopez has a role in there, and I'm friends with a person who's crewing on the film, and everybody was so happy that this movie was being made. It was a chance to get their culture out there, and also boom, gone. So, well, allegedly, we don't know yet. The shooting has only just started. So
sorry, that's my bad. I thought it was a television series, not a movie. I misspoke.
That was a movie, and that was something that, like I said, there were a lot of people who were excited to actually be working on that. You could feel it on the set, and if they pull the plug on that, that's just gonna hurt.
Mm-hmm. Next up was the Green Lantern Corps television show that was supposed to be headed up by Greg Berlanti, I think it was, coming out of the Arrowverse stuff. It was one of the folks that was running Arrowverse stuff.
At some point, yeah, because it would have been Diggle.
Well, that was the rumor we all wanted, but then they
rumored.
pretty much said, no, it's not going to be Diggle. And then Superman and Lois pretty much had Diggle throw the ring away. Even though Superman and Lois doesn't exist in the same universe as the Arrowverse. It's very confusing what they're doing right now. But yeah.
But either way, we would have had Jon Stewart in it, right?
We don't know. They never said. All we knew is this series was happening, and we never got anything else out about who it was supposed to be focused on or when it was supposed to take place. I think a lot of the fan theory was Jon Stewart, so they could bring David Ramsey in to be Jon Stewart Diggle.
Well, and that gives you, the majority of kids these days, when they think of Green Lantern, they don't think of that shitty movie. They think of the Justice League cartoon, where, let's be honest, they had to use Jon Stewart because he was the only black character they get in the Justice League.
But he made it work. He was a great character.
It was a great character. And the reasoning that they put him in there was a lie, but that's why they had him in there. But he is a great character, and the voice actor was amazing in it.
Yes.
And most kids growing up know when they think Green Lantern, they actually think of Jon Stewart. They don't think of Hal Jordan or Kyle Rayner.
Quick question. I don't know if they mentioned. I don't remember the list, so I don't know if they mentioned it. But just I apologize for jumping ahead. They mention anything about the Powerpuff Girls pilot in there?
Nothing about the Powerpuff Girls.
Not listed.
Not listed here. Next up, Justice League Dark, which, does this surprise anyone? At one point in time, because Guillermo del Toro was going to do it. Then it was J.J. Abrams. Then it was who knows what. Is anyone surprised?
It could have been cool if we could have got like a Swamp Thing, John Constantine, Zatanna running around, attacking magic users. It could have been cool
enough,
with Guillermo.
This list doesn't have the Zatanna movie on it that had been talked about being made. It's not on the list of canceled properties.
If Dark goes away, heck, maybe it never even got really greenlit.
Well, I mean, it was, because Guillermo del Toro, I believe, did interviews talking about some of the stuff he wanted to do with it.
Well, I mean, they haven't actually started production.
Right.
It was still
it was greenlit, but nothing had started, I think, was where the state was on that. So next up on the list, the Gotham Knights television show. And I don't remember what this one was, to be honest.
This was wasn't this that was basically, what did they call the comic book? Gotham Central?
Okay.
GCP.
I couldn't remember if it was that or if it was
a
tie-in to the video game.
This was going to be Law and Order in Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
Which was a Matt Reeves show.
Yeah.
Which could have been good if they actually focused on that aspect. My biggest complaint is we're going to do something different, and they start making it more and more like what it was.
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to go in a completely different direction. We're not going to have Batman. And then they start bringing in more and more of the Batman mythos. It's like, no, you're doing great doing your own thing. Why are you
all I know is we need less Batman shows that don't have Batman in them. They need to just make a damn Batman show. Get over it.
Well, they're trying to make a video game without him. Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Well,
too.
I mean, we got Arrow, we got Titans, we got Gotham, we got the freaking Pennyworth show. there's like 7 shows that they're trying to run that they're all Batman shows without Batman.
Yeah.
And the Penguin show on HBO Max.
Well, we'll get to that one too.
Yeah, it's on the list.
You just made the list, to quote Chris Jericho.
I'm a wizard.
Next up, the Harley Quinn animated series is supposedly going to get canceled. Where was season 3 was just about to start?
Yeah. Now that's a surprise if that's true,
very much so.
And that's sad because that's a beloved show.
Well, it's not that. It's that every time I'm on Facebook, I keep seeing ads for it. I see people talking about it. This show, even if you're varying the numbers on the streaming service so that nobody can track what it really is, it's got buzz around it. People watch it. People talk about it.
You have Ron Funches as King Shark. How can you not love that?
And they are broadcasting it on TNT, I believe, and TNT Late Night.
Really?
Yeah, the Harley Quinn cartoon is on TNT. It's probably
Titans.
censored. And Titans they've showed on TNT.
What do they call that? Front row or whatever?
Something like
but they
that.
rebroadcast
they can do that.
Yeah, the HBO Max stuff, and I think they censored a little bit.
Not worth it. No. I'm not a Harley Quinn fan, but I know lots of people who are. But the fact is, if you're going to do the character, go all the way. Don't just go balls to the wall.
They did.
Hold back.
They did.
Yeah, on that show. Yeah, on that show they did. I'm like halfway through season 1. It's a great show, and the voice acting in it is phenomenal. The storytelling is phenomenal, and the animation is really solid too.
And I think this is season 3 that's starting up right now.
Yeah.
And again, this is another one of those things where if you look on the surface of things they're doing here, it doesn't look exactly great because as season 3 was starting, fans, let me air quote, we're all complaining, oh, you need to get Harley back with the Joker again. That's what people want. Yeah. And the showrunners came out and said, that's never going to happen. That's not a good relationship. Harley's with Ivy, and if you don't like it, you don't have to watch the show, effectively is what it came out to be.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not a fan of the character, but it is the most positive, not only gay relationship I've seen in popular media, but the fact is, I would rather have Harley with Ivy just because Ivy treats her right. The Joker is a psychotic nut job.
Right.
Yeah, and everybody, she belongs to it. No.
He's the epitome of an abusive boyfriend.
Yeah. Next up on the list, Westworld, which surprised no one because if you go and look at the ratings on HBO, they've tanked this season.
Yeah. Well, and after the first season, which is some of the best television ever done, like once they went out into the real world of the sci-fi world in which Westworld exists, you kind of saw it kind of like they could only write that story for so long with what Michael Crichton gave them in the original book, and they've done some cool stuff with it. But I mean, it's like Prison Break going into season 4. It's like, really, this is still going? Like, why is Westworld still a thing?
Yeah, the first season of Westworld was brilliant. I absolutely loved it, but they couldn't really take it any further than what they did. You can't really keep the series going with them there. You can't really take them outside. It's like, just let it have a dignified end right there. Do a one and done. But
there's some cool stuff in season 2 and 3, but yeah, that could have been one of those shows where if they ended after a season, it would have been considered like perfect television.
Heroes.
Yeah. So, Willie, have we mentioned anything so far that makes you be like, oh my God, I'm really pissed. I wanted to see that.
Not yet, but I am.
I'm too away from that on the list.
We're getting to it though. So next up, this show is on the CW, which we've seen as having its own issue with superhero programs and stuff like that. Really good though, and it was on HBO Max, not on the CW app. It is the Superman and Lois television show.
Oh my! I don't care.
I've watched the first couple episodes, and I want to finish at some point in time, but then I really got kind of disgruntled that they built it on the back of the Arrowverse and then waited until season 2 to be like, no, this doesn't take place in the Arrowverse, even though we have characters from the Arrowverse showing up on our television program. They're just characters in this universe that you know from the Arrowverse.
So it's kind of like the movies then.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, that said, Superman and Lois, it's a really good show. I like what they've done with it. And for a CW television show, it looks really good.
It's got solid writing, good special effects. And I mean, Supernatural ended, so they got a little bit more probably thrown towards their budget. So,
we should
Superman
also,
and Lois does look good.
Also note that they did confirm this is the final season for The Flash this season. They're getting a 13-episode send-off. Willie, you might care about this one. Sure. Supposedly, the Gotham Knights video game is being canceled.
You motherfuckers!
What?
Yeah.
What?
I finally get to play through a whole game as Nightwing.
Like the first 15 minutes of it. Oh, that'd be hilarious.
So I wouldn't have believed this at first, but they just delayed it again because they're having issues of some kind. And there's also been rumors long before this acquisition that Warner wanted to sell off the WB Games division.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Remember, there was the rumor that Microsoft was going to buy WB Games at one point in time.
What would it be then? Because it couldn't still be WB Games, and because they don't have access to the licenses. You're just getting no idea, man. The people that make the games. Like, what are you getting with that?
No idea, but
the dev staff and their equipment.
Yeah, I'm not 100%.
I mean, that's worth something, but I mean.
So I guess I should clarify as we go through the list. I'm not 100% sure that this list is fully accurate, but some of the things they bring up on here, I can kind of nod my head and be like, I could see that they would make this move.
Is that Suicide Squad game? That actually looks like it might be.
Well, that is not on the list. The Suicide Squad is not on the list.
But if the WB Games goes away, so does that.
That was a separate thread that I was having, is that they wanted to spin it off.
Never mind then.
If they were smart, what they would do is they would team up with Rockstar and make Grand Theft Auto Gotham City. Where you start off as a low-level thug and you start working your way through the different villains, and ultimately you have to fight the Batman. I would pay serious money for that. I wouldn't bitch about the DLC. I wouldn't bitch about the Plus membership if I could do that.
So
that would be cool.
Willie, we got 3 items on the list. You're probably not going to like 2 of them, I'm guessing, and we'll save those for last.
So far, nothing's like meh. Everything's like, I don't know, either I don't care or meh.
There was the Matt Reeves was going to do a show focused on the Penguin that we saw in the Batman. That is evidently canceled.
Oh, yeah, I'm all right. I love that Batman movie, but I mean, I didn't really need more Penguin.
I thought Colin Farrell was cool in the role. It could have been interesting.
But show on that character.
Less Batman shows without Batman.
I mean, even that, I wouldn't.
Oh, what are you going to complain about? Bat Wheels next?
Yeah, and the Bat Toaster.
Yeah, I would too.
It does surprise me a little bit that the 2 Matt Reeves television programs are on here because of, how much emphasis was placed on, hey, we're doing this movie that a lot of people really liked, and now we're going to have stuff that ties in so that you'll subscribe to our streaming service. But I guess a lot of that can go away with your change in direction from new leaders and CEOs and stuff like that, and pretty much once you see that all the creatives are getting forced out the door. That takes us to 2 things left on the list, Willie.
So far, so good.
We'll start first with Titans. That is on the list.
Yeah, I couldn't get into it. I watched one episode, was like...
I thought you watched it. My bad.
I watched one episode.
That was me.
Okay.
That was me. I watched all of Titans.
I haven't gone back to it.
You didn't like the whole fuck Batman thing to try and be edgy and cool?
I mean, I can't fault them for writing it because it is hilarious. And regardless of it was unintentional or not, it is hilarious. Fuck Batman. It's so like stupid.
Yeah, that was one of the most
I'm glad it exists, but it's so stupid.
That pilot is one of the worst episodes in the series. Because everything was focused on getting to the line "fuck Batman." The whole show itself actually does some great storytelling later on, especially with the Hawk and Dove stuff and the way they did Deathstroke the Terminator and freaking Jericho. The way they took on those storylines in a live action world was really cool. But yeah, it was. And Titans going away isn't a big shock. You can only run those characters for so long.
Well, they've done it for what, 3-4 seasons at this point in time?
Yeah, I think they're on their 4th.
Which means you're probably getting close to time to have to renegotiate contracts with people if you want to do more seasons.
Which is when the penny pinchers start screwing stuff over.
Be so fucking pissed.
Willie, there's one last one on the list. Are you prepared?
I'm waiting for it. So far, I don't give a shit.
You can give a shit about this one.
Bitch.
Doom Patrol.
Are you fucking with me?
I am not fucking with you. You can pull up if you are listening to the podcast or watching, go to bit.ly/ATGN495. There is a picture in there of what we're seeing there. And yeah, Doom Patrol is on the list, Willie. I know how much you enjoy that show.
To be fair, I've always said I'm surprised they are renewing the show for another season. Because it is way too good for it to keep going. And here we are.
Yeah, same thing with the Orville.
Yeah. I'm a little shocked. Yeah, I'm a little shocked Doom Patrol lasted as long as it did, honestly.
And it never went down in quality. It was always good.
No, it's a great show. And some of the stuff they did on that show, I can't believe they did it in live action and then put it out on TV.
You're not
like,
wrong.
Holy moly, there's some weird shit that happens in the world, but it fits perfectly because it's Doom Patrol.
Great show.
So this is the list that was posted to our Discord that a user had found in another location, but I've also seen this same list being picked up by a bunch of the geek blog sites and stuff like that on Twitter as we are starting to record the show. So whether the list is accurate or not, this is what is out there being reported as supposedly being on the chopping block for Warner Discovery. And if you go and look at the Warner Discovery content, that's a lot of DC content.
I quote the Seventh Doctor. Time will tell. It always does. Down the hatch, fellas.
I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, maybe they cancel all these things with the plan of they're going to do a grand reboot of the DC universe focused around Pattinson's Batman, I guess, since they seemingly have not canceled the Batman 2 or Aquaman. Or, I don't know.
Well, like I said, I don't even know what the guy's doing. Like I said, the talk about women aging out of animation, they're canceling shows and movies that are nearly done. I couldn't tell you what is going to happen next. I mean, trying to restart the whole DCU thing, I don't know. He's basically like Rupert Murdoch. It's like, if you don't give us results now, you're gone. Yeah. And this is what's killed the movie industry. 20 years ago, you had multiple tiers for movies. You had your low-budget indies, you had your blockbusters, you had your mid-tiers where people could work on that, could learn the industry. Now, all of a sudden, but thanks to the Marvel Universe, the middle is gone. You either have low budgets or blockbusters, because if you're a studio, you have $150 million. You go, well, we can make $10 million movies, some of which will bomb, some of which won't, or we can put it all on one movie with potential merchandising and ancillary rights, and we can make money with that. So there's basically everybody is now focused on making the big splash instead of just doing what they're supposed to do. It's one of my complaints about comic book editors at the big companies. Ostensibly, as an editor, your job is to find stories and keep the audience entertained. But starting with the 80s, we started getting editors who wanted to shape the company in the direction of their creative vision, and they started hiring people and issuing editorial directives that pushed in that direction. So it was no longer about making stuff the audience wanted to see. It was about shaping something that they could push on the audience and make them buy. And we're seeing that happen with movies now. It sucks being an indie animator with no money, but I'll tell you this much. I decide I want to make a movie, I can make it and get it out. I don't have to see it get tangled up in development hell or test screenings or see some new person take over the company and suddenly say, hey, guess what? You're gone. I can just do my thing. And like I said, it sucks having no money, but the creative freedom is so much better.
That would be the disheartening thing for a lot of people that are impacted by this is, hey, there was this plan, I was getting to do these cool things. The creative had all signed off on it to, oh shit, there's new people in, and they've either shit-canned everyone I work with, or they've canceled my project, or I'm waiting for them to do it because my project doesn't fit the mold of the kind of content they want on their service. Now, I don't know if I 100% agree with this. In the chat room right now, we have a logical robot in there who had commented a couple minutes ago saying they're all finally having the epiphany in regards to movie studios that the superhero bubble has burst. They pushed it too frequently and too hard. And I'm not sure that that's accurate unless we spin the MCU into its own bubble, because people were real quick to try and be like, oh my God, Marvel's flopping.
No,
I don't think it is.
They had executives saying that, and it's not really a superhero bubble, it's the comic book bubble, saying that movies based on comic books is a bubble that's going to burst. They said that when Wanted came out, and that's why they changed it to a movie about assassins instead of supervillains, because some executive convinced Mark Miller that superhero movies, comic book based movies were over and done with. That was 25 years ago. There's no end. There's no end to how many great films you can make
15,
based on comic books. Yeah, as long as you make a good movie. It has nothing to do with whether or not it's a superhero.
Look at The Boys. I mean, I'm probably going to get some heat for this, but I'm going to say The Boys comic book was okay. It wasn't great. I mean, if you viewed it as just a parody of superheroes, it was fine, but it doesn't have anywhere near the level of quality and edge that the TV series has. I'm telling you right now, Homelander is probably the most terrifying villain I have ever seen in anything. That guy genuinely scares me. That's something I never got from the Homelander in the comic book. He was just this goof who didn't quite grasp what was going on around him.
Right.
This one is actually a threat that stays with you.
I'd say that's 20% the writing, because was it Eric Ripke and the staff of writing are really good. But I'm telling you, that's 80% Anthony Starr.
Yes,
that guy plays Homelander perfectly.
Anybody else would play him as like this power crazed maniac or something. He has that subtle menace that it's like, yeah, this guy sees. It's kind of like American Psycho. You think that he's charming and he's the most normal guy in the room, but you notice he's not doing things human, and that's what starts building the unease, and that's what he is genuinely terrifying, and that show is absolutely brilliant. It's because they took it and they just ran with it. They didn't hold back. Every time I watch the show, it's like I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh no, don't ease up now, go for it. When Lucy got killed, I mean, it was gross, but it was also funny because it's like, yeah, that's something you're not going to get from the MCU.
No.
Catching termite in the bag of cocaine, that was brilliant. And I'm sure and I'm sure you heard the story about how they settled on him blowing up the guy's penis, right?
I did. Mm-hmm.
They were doing their story meetings, and they were like, and they had heard the stories about Ant-Man killing Thanos.
Ant-Man Thanos, yeah,
right. And they're like, well, we could do something like that. It's like, but didn't we already have somebody with a butt that blew up? It's like, yeah, translucent in the first season. So it's like, so the butt is out, the mouth isn't funny. What else is there? And so
we need another orifice.
They actually built a 20-foot long penis.
Yeah, the pictures of that are insane.
Can we get another orifice in here?
Yes,
indeed.
That was not special effects. It is a practical effect. It is an 11-foot tall, 20-foot long penis. And somewhere, somebody in Sony's accounting department is going, oh my God, we got season 4 coming. Shit.
This show,
Amazon.
This show made Amazon have to have a standards and practices department, is what they were saying, because they didn't have anything like that before. Yeah. And then they're like,
Did you see the tweet before episode 6 Herogasm came out?
Yes.
About how it's describing all the stuff in the episode, and this is in very poor taste and should not be watched by anyone.
Yeah, not watched by anyone.
Yeah,
that's it. With stuff like The Boys, with stuff like the Invincible cartoon, and now we're getting the new Paper Girls show, there is no comic book bubble. People need to quit thinking that great creative projects can't continue coming from comic books basically in perpetuity as long as there are comic books. They just won't be all superhero. Yeah, there's always another great story to come out of a comic. Walking Dead's about to finish season 11, and only the first 3 years of that were good.
Yeah. If you do superheroes, if you do comic books as standard male power fantasy superhero story, yeah, you're going to run out because people are going to get tired of it. But we're still seeing people come up with new ideas and new avenues to explore. That's part of the reason I was so disappointed that Batgirl got canceled, because, like I said, I wasn't entirely sold on it, but I was curious to see the direction they would go in. I enjoy seeing what artists will come up with when you set them in front of a canvas and say, go to work. Sometimes you like it, sometimes you don't. But
the one that disappoints me, if it's real, is honestly Blue Beetle. Because Jaime Hernandez is one of the greatest characters that's been created since the New 52. He's one of the best additions to the roster of the young kid heroes in the DC universe. And it was going to be basically an entire cast and crew made up of Spanish-influenced actors and characters, and having an entire culture the way we just got with Miss Marvel. Where, that's a teenage girl superhero. It's not even aimed at me, and I still love that show. I think that show's one of the best things ever done. Blue Beetle could have been the exact same thing for the Mexican culture on screen, and it could be amazing. If it's one of the ones that gets canceled, that is a huge, sad loss.
So playing devil's advocate here, I agree with you. But let's try and spin it from their point of view of how they might be looking at it, which is, hey, Ms. Marvel was a different thing because it was TV. They're talking about movies and wanting to move into big tentpole series that draw people to a theater. And I sound like I'm taking a shot at Blue Beetle. It's not my intent. But if you're casual person X who doesn't really read comics, knows like the big superheroes and stuff like that, is hearing there's a Blue Beetle movie from DC Comics going to put your ass in a seat.
I will counter with Black Panther.
I will counter with Coco.
Okay, that's fair. Black Panther's not, because that's behind the MCU engine. People have faith in Marvel. They don't necessarily have that same faith in DC.
Still, it was going to be a black-led superhero movie with a black director, which Hollywood has consistently said can't work. And then, just take the MCU out of it.
They had 20 movies of goodwill ahead of it to get people to go and see it, introduce the character in other movies first.
What that movie did would be the same thing that Jaime Hernandez would do, is like on the Coco level, where everybody with a Spanish influence coaster would be like, hey, this is a Spanish superhero. This is a Spanish teenager who is awesome, has this crazy suit of armor, and goes on adventures. That movie could be a blockbuster.
It should have been a series, a TV show.
I would put Coco as a higher example simply because of the Frozen controversy that came when the movie first came out. When the movie was first coming out, Disney wasn't sure people would watch a Hispanic-themed movie. So they made a Frozen short to run at the start of it. People started complaining because it's like, here's a movie that's steeped in Hispanic culture, and to get people to see it, you're pairing it with 7 minutes of the whitest shit in existence. You could only see the Frozen short, I think, for the first 1 or 2 weeks the movie was out, and after that it was removed. And
then they pulled it.
But you had people from all walks of life enjoying this movie that had nothing other than it's steeped in Hispanic culture. It can be done. It can be done, but you have to have people that want to do the job right. Another example, now that I think about it, Lilo and Stitch. The people behind that had to fight Disney about the depictions of Hawaiian culture. Disney wanted things like the luau changed because it's like, well, this is what people expect. No, that's what white people, I think like 3 or 4 of the people running the whole show came from Hawaii. And they're like, no, that's not what this is. And they actually had to fight Disney to get the depiction of Hawaii in the movie the way that it is. Now, the movie was a hit. It was under promoted by Disney, and of course, it did have the problem that they had to change the ending because of the plane sequence. But still, it was a completely different culture, and in fact, it defied cultural expectations about what Hawaii was supposed to be like, and it was still a hit, and people still love it. So it can be done. You just have to have the people who want to actually get it done.
It's fair. That's fair. Personally, I'm more of the thought that if they'd done Blue Beetle as a television show, you could kind of leverage it the same way they did Ms. Marvel. And I'm not done with that show. I should point out I'm only on episode 4, so I don't know the full story, blah, 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 blah. But I've loved the show. I think it's a lot of fun, even though I'm not the target demographic.
And the way it leads into the Marvels, the second movie, is fantastic at the end of the season. So it is very well done. And it's fantastic television writing. And they could have done something like that with Blue Beetle. But I think it's sad that, if we lose that Blue Beetle movie, it's a huge loss to what could have been like a superhero cultural icon. Jaime Hernandez is a badass character.
Yeah, some things are just too difficult to work as a movie is the problem. Because a movie has to be self-contained, you have to introduce all your elements and tie them up. Like The Boys was originally being shopped around as a movie, not a TV series. How would you do that?
That would have failed miserably.
The Full Metal Alchemist movie on Netflix. Well, I mean, Netflix sucks in general when it comes to their anime adaptations. But the Full Metal Alchemist movie in particular was bad because there is so much this overarching story about what's going on with the brothers and what the conflict is with everything going on. You can't compress that into a 2-hour movie. Even if you just go with just a couple of story arcs, you just can't do it.
Little tangent here. Did I hear they're making another Death Note live action thing?
Yeah, I think the guys from Stranger Things are making it.
That's right. Those damn duffers are at it again.
Well, Netflix likes throwing money away all the time. It's one of their favorite things to do.
I tend to avoid a lot of Netflix stuff just because, once in a while they do it right, but for the most part...
Cowboy Bebop was good.
Yeah. Got an Emmy nomination and a cancellation. Good job, great. Netflix. It was a really fun show.
Never saw
So
it.
good. So good.
There are some things that I just avoid just because it's like there's no way this is going to work. I admit that it causes problems, like Steven Universe. Everybody kept telling me I got to try Steven Universe. It's a great show. I watched, I think, like the first year of it. I wasn't impressed. At least, no, you got to watch more than that because, like, with the third year, I think they said is when they got the kinks ironed out and it became a much better show. So it's on my list of things to revisit. But if you told me that there's a show coming and Rebecca Sugar is in charge of it, I would be, I don't know if I want to see it. I mean, I haven't seen Ghostbusters Afterlife because Ghostbusters 2016 left such a bad taste in my mouth.
Hey.
It
was all right. It wasn't good or great.
No,
it was all right.
No, wait, no. The correct phrase is you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not seeing the son of the original director tackle his dad's characters because of a movie made by no one involved with the original two.
I understand that. I've heard it, but every time I see it on the red box, I cannot bring myself to do it because I'm not only because of the experience with the movie, but because everybody is turning it into such a culture war instead of just making a movie. And of course, this is Sony we're talking about. Sony is looking to exploit everything they can. Yes, they gave us Into the Spider-Verse, but they also gave us the Emoji Movie. So my faith in Sony.
And you talk about holding on to IP. There's a reason we get a shitty Spider-Man villain film every 4 years.
It's Morbin time.
It's Morbin time.
I was just about to say the only movie in history to bomb twice. Way to go, Morbius.
I will tell you, though, Jason Reitman wrote a love letter to his dad. You need to watch Ghostbusters Afterlife. It is an amazing film.
For me, my interest in Ghostbusters ended after the video game because the video game was basically the third movie.
It was fun game.
I remember.
But that's because you haven't met Spengler? You haven't met Spengler's granddaughter yet.
I know. I know I have to see. I was a huge Ghostbusters fan. I mean, even back when Real Ghostbusters first came out, I was one of the people talking about how great the show was. Of course, it had Straczynski writing it, but I loved it. And then all the bullshit surrounding 16, and like I said, 16 was a categorically bad movie. Just the university reaction alone shows you they didn't know what they were writing. If you came up to a university head and said, we have actual scientific proof that paranormal phenomena is real, they would not be going, hey, we don't want to be associated with this, we'll look like crackpots. You have the scientific discovery of the millennium. They will be on the phone with every news outlet, with every donor, everybody to say, we have the proof of this, and it will be the ultimate thing that makes you. And said, oh, no, we just don't, we're afraid of looking like crackpots. I'm like, this is, no. The whole movie had its own idea of what it was doing, and it was like Infinity War. This is the ending we're going for, and we're going to get there by any means necessary, even if it doesn't make a goddamn sense.
Sorry, I'm checking to see if there's any Warner Discovery news before we stop talking about Warner Discovery, because knowing our luck, it'd be right as we move.
It's going to keep popping up, all
Doom Patrol
day.
Season 4 confirmed, I wish.
Yeah. So like I said, I know I have to see Ghostbusters Afterlife, but I just can't bring myself to do it because everything around it has just gone to shit. I just can't do it. And I know I have to. I know it's not fair. I know it's wrong. I've heard nothing but great things about Afterlife, but I just can't get over that hump.
That's fair. I get it.
Yeah. Shake your head, please. I understand that what I'm feeling is wrong. I know it.
I thought the 2016 movie was all right.
No.
It's got some good parts and it's
It
funny.
was all right about
in the movie, they can't decide if they live in a universe where the Ghostbusters existed or didn't. So right there, they shot themselves in the foot.
Ghostbusters 2 did the same damn thing.
The 2016 movie. Oh, we're doing a movie about empowered females, but we can't mention that McKinnon's character is a lesbian. You fuckers. Like I said, if you're gonna do it, go all.
I mean,
don't soft pedal like that. God damn it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not wrong.
Of course, I was also one of the people disappointed that Carol Danvers and her relationship with the other pilot was queer coded instead of them just saying, "Look, they're gay, they're in love, deal with it." No, we gotta soft pedal that because we don't want to offend people. The kiss that got censored out of Lightyear. I mean, I saw Lightyear.
It got censored out?
Yeah, there was a lesbian kiss in there that was originally censored out. They put it back in because of public outcry. I missed it the first time I saw it. I actually had to go on the internet to find the scene. It is less than a second.
Right. It's minimal time on screen.
Yeah,
Not because they're trying to minimize it, but because they're normalizing it, which is it's something to the effect of she goes in the room and gives her wife a peck on the lips or something like that.
Yeah, it's like, oh my, this was what everybody was complaining about. This is what they didn't want in. And I'm sorry, if a country is going to say, well, we don't want to, Independence Day was banned in Arab nations because David Levinson is a Jew and he saves the world. Arab nations banned Independence Day simply because of that.
Marvel did tell, like, the Saudis, for instance, to F off when they said, hey, we're not going to show Doctor Strange because of America Chavez's moms. And they went, okay, then don't show Doctor Strange.
Yeah, the next time you watch a movie that's set in the Old West, pay attention to the sheriff's star. Because sheriff stars used to have 6 points. You'll see 7 or you'll see 5. Because 6 points reminds people of the Star of David, and it will get you banned. Once again, being an indie animator sucks, but I can do what the fuck I want.
So, we thought we were going to jump off the Warner Discovery news. No, I'm going to touch on it for like 30 seconds real quick. If you guys are aware, there's a game called Multiverses that's in beta right now, which is basically, think Super Smash Brothers, but for Warner Brothers characters. So it's in beta right now. So you have like Batman and you have Superman. Rick and Morty were announced. You've got Shaggy and Scooby. You've got all sorts of stuff. Yeah, Season 1 has been delayed for a yet-to-be-determined date. They don't know when it's coming out. The game's not canceled, anything like that. But they are taking lessons learned from the early access and the beta, evidently, to delay Season 1. I think they also announced that Rick and Morty are also going to be playable characters downloadable. Oh, and so's LeBron James, if you guys want LeBron.
He's already out.
Oh, yeah, because Space Jam 2, that was just such a great fucking movie. Jesus.
They're about $7 each for each character. Now, side note, the game is free to play and comes with a base set of characters. You can unlock characters in-game by earning in-game currency or paying for a character.
Chris, have you played it yet?
Not yet, no.
All right, so let me now let me see here. So you can earn in-game currency to get the characters for free. You don't have a selection of characters in a base set when you first download it. There's more like the what is it? Like the Brawlhalla.
Final Fantasy.
It's like what?
It sounds like all the bravest from Final Fantasy.
Not really. It's like a Brawlhalla where they have different characters available for that week. In the availability changes.
We're in beta right now, though, too.
Unless you buy the character, then you always have access to it.
Is that how it's going to be when it launches, or is that just because they're in beta?
I'm assuming, because that works.
So my apologies. I assumed that was because they were in beta and we're trying to make sure other characters were play tested. They were doing the shuffling like that. I assumed there was like a base set and then unlockable ones after that.
No, because Taz was my first one, and he was gone this week.
Okay. Look, it's a free game. I'm going to give it a try. I've got the beta downloaded on my Xbox. I just haven't played because I've been playing Far Cry 5, but neither here nor there. And real quick, as we transition off of this news, another quick news story is, hey, Oscar Isaac was doing an Instagram Live in Egypt with the director of Moon Knight. And then someone asked, why are you guys in Egypt? And he went, what do you think? So what do you guys think is happening?
Because he's making Star Wars 10, stupid. Why do you think he's in Egypt?
Moon Knight. Why is it?
So it looks like season 2 of Moon Knight is happening, despite them originally seeming to bill it as like a one-off kind of thing. But hey, second season coming. I enjoyed it, so I'm curious to see what they do with it.
Sure.
Molly Ivins, a political columnist, she wrote one time that she was on a show promoting her book, and she was going over the questions that the interviewer was going to ask her. And she asked the interviewer, I'll bet you haven't even read The Dust Jacket. And the interviewer said, what's a dust jacket?
Right.
Wow.
I mean,
this.
Let's be honest,
that's how
though.
dumb people are.
We're so used to people being so quiet about any kind of Marvel announcement that it's kind of refreshing to have Oscar Isaac be like, well, I'm in Egypt and I'm with one of the directors. Why do you think I'm here? But not explicitly say, hey, we're doing Moon Knight 2.
Oh, boy.
I thought it was funny, and I thought it was worth mentioning real quick because I'd forgotten about it until we were wrapping this up. And we are super pressed for time. I apologize, folks. We're going to power through what's left on here.
All right.
No.
I'll sit back. I'll be quiet.
No. It was a good conversation. There was a lot of branching off on it, and I think it was
that's the problem.
Fun to have. It's just I realized, holy shit, we've been recording for an hour and 15 minutes already.
I have more tangents than a geometry class. I understand that.
That's fair. So let's power through the rest of our news. We powered through mine real quick. Bachman, why don't you go next? Power news.
Speaking of people rumored to talk about Marvel things that they're not supposed to, according to a Slash Film article that was in reference to a Today Show clip. I'll just skip the part where it talks about Kevin Feige not being able to keep things under wrap because of people like Tom Holland and Mark Ruffalo. We all know what they did. We all know why they're given fake scripts now when they work on Marvel projects. Apparently, Patton Oswalt, who briefly appeared in the Eternals mid-credit scene as Pip the Troll, has a clip out on the Today Show from his TikTok and his Twitter. Fans speculating about the Marvel's latest supergroup, the Eternals, and the quote is, they've announced, apparently Patton said, they've announced there's going to be an Eternals sequel. Chloe Zhao is going to direct it, so hopefully there'll be more adventures of Star Fox and Pip. They have not announced that, and apparently the first person to mention it is Patton Oswalt. So,
who's a troll?
And he's a troll, so, he could be trolling, but I think, honestly, Patton is about to get put on the list with Mark Ruffalo and Tom Holland, where he's going to start getting, the cease and desist version of the scripts, where they tell him that you're going to a wedding and not a funeral, so you don't know what's happening.
You saw that picture from SDCC where Downey is sitting next to Tom Holland, and Holland has a piece of duct tape over his mouth, right?
No, that makes sense, though. The kid just... he gives up secrets.
Yeah, Holland is sitting there with a piece of duct tape on his mouth, and Downey's just sitting next to him like...
He and Ruffalo were the worst at it. Ruffalo, who accidentally left his phone live streaming Thor Ragnarok when the movie started, and then be like, half of us die. We all die.
Yeah, and full on give up the end of the first movie while sitting across from, who was it? War Machine.
John Cheadle.
Yeah. John Cheadle's like, you're on your own, man. You said that shit. It wasn't me. So apparently Patton might end up on that same list. So we got Mr. MODOK Pip the Troll is out there giving up that apparently Chloe Zhao's coming back for the Eternal sequels, which honestly, I didn't love nor hate, but I enjoyed the first Eternals movie. It was solid.
Sure.
I mean, it's a good, 6.5, 7 out of 10. I'll watch more of them. Yeah, it was entertaining. The fight with Icarus, where she attacks Mercury. Oh wait, no, Mercury attacks Icarus. That fight is one of the best speedster fights ever put on film. Where you have someone at the Flash's level and Superman's level going toe to toe, and you see how someone that's pure speed could actually take out someone who is almost unstoppable. That fight was fucking awesome. They did so well with that. And the fact that, and I love, people talk shit about it, but I love the fact that Kumail Nanjiani's character is like, hey, I'm stepping away. I don't want to fight my family. That was such a great character motivated move in a scene where it's like, oh, we're going to have the two sides clash. It's like, no, this guy's like, hey, I love you all. I don't want to fight anybody. You're my family. I love you all. This is awful. I'm just getting out of here. I thought that was so well handled and so well directed. Yeah, I would love to see more Eternals. Plus, it's all Jack Kirby, man. It's all Jack Kirby every day. That shit looked beautiful. I want to see more Jack Kirby designs on the big screen in the biggest way possible. Get more Jack Kirby art on the screen so people can see it and see how damn good that guy was at designing characters, monsters, giant freaking robots, Eternals, freaking everything. Get me more Kirby designs. That's all we need. It'll be beautiful.
That's fair. Willie, did you have anything for Power News?
Please don't do this to Brendan Fraser. I need a Brendan Sans.
Yeah,
he does. The man doesn't deserve it.
Please, everyone, if you can, go watch The Whale in theaters whenever it comes out. I'm not sure when that is. It's directed by Darren Aronofsky, starring Brendan Fraser.
Fraser will be all right. Fraser is kind of like the second coming of Keanu Reeves. Everybody loves the guy. He's going to be fine.
Keanu Reeves never went away.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did.
Remember, there was that time he made movies like Constantine and Day the Earth Stood Still. His career was in the shitter for a while.
Yeah, but he's still out there.
Yeah, I agree. But the thing is that the fans love him. That's what I mean about the Keanu Reeves thing. Everybody, you say he's like The Rock. You say Keanu Reeves is doing this, and everybody's like, "Ooh," and they want to know more. You say
Fair
Ezra
enough.
Miller is in something, and everyone goes, "Oh, fuck him."
Them.
Yeah, I know. I keep hearing that.
I keep
Not
waiting,
that I'm in disagreement, but
I
not
keep
as
waiting for a
vocally.
I keep waiting for a movie where Miles Teller just gets the shit slapped out of him. That I'll pay money to see.
Didn't they do that in what was that jazz drum movie?
I will neither confirm nor deny that I keep watching that scene over. Just
I don't know if that is the scene. I just know I'm assuming he gets the shit beat out of him by J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, just
You little asshole! I said keep it in time.
Oh.
just like House of Wax. I have only kept the clip where Paris Hilton gets killed. That's the only part of the movie that I watch. Everything else, I don't care about, but that's what I paid my money to see, and by God, that's what I got.
So on that note, we've wrapped up our news of the week where we went really heavy focused on the Warner Bros. Discovery stuff. Normally, we're not as focused on one singular story, but this was a big deal and was presumably going to be developing while we recorded this. Evidently, the media call hasn't happened, or the earnings call hasn't happened yet, so it'll probably be right after we stop hitting the record button.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back in for a super special that only Chris is going to.
Yeah, there you go. So, for those that may not be familiar with the show, how we close things out is we take everyone who's on the show and we do a segment called What I'm Into, where we'll quickly give you an idea of what kind of geeky and nerdy things we've been getting into so that you, the listener, the viewer, may get interested and want to check them out yourselves. We're going to save the guest for last here so you can leave the lingering impression in our guests' minds and also tell people where to find them. But I will kick things off first and say what I've been getting into. It's actually mostly a repeat of last week. Still doing my DDP yoga 4 to 5 days a week. I am caught up on the Orville 2 today for the season finale, and that show is delightful, and I hope that Hulu gives it another season, but I don't think it's going to happen because there's already cast members that have signed new gigs. What's that look for, Willie?
Oh, I'm just waiting to hear that you also finished something else, but I'll casually just wait till that.
Okay. I've watched the first 3 or 4 episodes of Ms. Marvel now. Been really enjoying that. I'm hoping to finish that up over the weekend. Caught up on What We Do in the Shadows because I love that show. It's honestly one of the funniest things on television because of how quirky, weird, and insane it is. And I've been playing Far Cry 5. Willie, what else should I have been doing? You've got something in mind.
You said you started this game a while back, and I still haven't heard that you finished it. I mean,
Is this
it
Yakuza
is-
Like a Dragon?
yes, it is.
I haven't touched it in ages because I'm at a grind point, so I've been playing Far Cry 5 as of
What
late.
part are you at?
We
I
talked
have
about
not
this
had to run
last
Any
week.
kind of grind? You said some kind of.
I had to make a bunch of money to be able to do something, and I didn't want to make the money.
Is it the 3 million?
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
Just go do the business shit. You can do that in like 5
The
minutes.
business
Get
shit
three
makes my
million.
brain hurt.
You just said it. You recover and you do it again and just go back and forth. It's so simple. It's easy. You make 3 million like nothing. Bam,
Well, if it's
bam,
so easy,
bam,
then why don't
bam,
you tell us
bam.
what you've been getting into?
I'll do it when it's my turn.
That's what I was doing.
It
was
is your
throwing
turn.
it to you.
I know that. I'm trying to make him feel even worse. Jesus
You
Christ.
can't make me feel any worse than I do when I record this show every week. Hate you guys. No, I'm
Good.
just kidding.
No, but I've been playing some Yakuza Like a Dragon. I've been all right with the English dub of it up until one character comes out. He makes a return. You should have just had done this, I believe, Chris. Yeah, Goro Majima's English guy.
Oh, yeah.
It is not. It's not Goro Majima. So yeah, I can't wait to go back. This is probably the first one I actually do go back and play through, like the New Game Plus, the premium adventure, what it calls it. And I might definitely go back with that and listen to the Japanese because I need to hear the my Goro Majima. Oh, Kiro-chan, it's so good.
What else should we get into, man?
Nothing.
All right, fair enough. Bachman, you're up next. What you been getting into?
Yeah, watching the Discovery debacle. Playing a little DVD. Just enjoying 2 days off. And then actually, we've been doing a nightly movie watch through. We've actually been, me and the fiance, been sitting down rewatching the entire Skywalker saga. starting with the Phantom Menace, and last night we watched A New Hope. So tonight, The Empire Will Strike Back. It's kind of nice to just sit down, not doing anything else, like not on my phone, not reading, not goofing out, just sitting and actually watching a Star Wars movie all the way through. It's just, really relaxing and noticing, like little stuff that I never noticed before, and also not really enjoying the special edition versions that are on stupid Disney Plus because it's not the real ones. But, you can't get those anymore if you don't have the VHS tapes from the 80s, so I'm stuck watching...
Or the Laserdisc.
Or the Laserdisc, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been enjoyable. We've been doing a rewatch of all those, and we're going to go, basically, I guess we're going to do 9 nights in a row where we're just watching Star Wars movies. So
just stop at 8.
I like all of them. There's something to love in every Star Wars film.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Chiming in the chat room, Logical Robot asked if they get a turn, saying they play lots of the criminally overlooked Outriders in co-op, Far Cry 6, and rewatching Mandalorian.
I have not re-uploaded my Outriders in a while. I wonder if it's time enough with all the updates to give it another shot.
It's on Game Pass. I just need to re-download it.
Another game I spent way too much money on, and after like 4 hours, it's like, wow, this is not fun. Then again, DBD's not really fun right now either, playing Survivor. So
you guys say that every week, but you keep playing.
How do you? I never say this. Why do you say
Willie
I
never
say
says
this?
It. Just me. Just me.
Sorry, Willie. I mischaracterized
every
you.
damn time.
I apologize, Willie. I said
That's
I
what
was
he's
sorry.
here for. Yeah, that's about it.
Well, let's end things with our guest of the week, Peter. Also, please tell us what you've been getting into, but also where people can find you here on the old internets.
Well, if you go on YouTube and type in Sign to More, and well, actually, there's an easier way to find my stuff now. I've been doing animations based on a radio segment called Ask Blanche that runs on the Chicago radio station WDRV, and they've been getting some really good traction. Basically, Ask Blanche is an advice thing that one of the DJs just riffs on. And I've been doing animations based on that, like Storytime animations. And it's great because I basically have free reign to do whatever I want. This shows you how much they trust, because one of the things is they didn't want anything political because it's a comedy show. It's not supposed to be an opinion piece. So I have to watch and stay away, but I have so many other things I can put my political opinions on, it doesn't matter. And I can get away with gags that I could never get away with on a network. The third episode has a gag about a male stripper that would never fly. So, but I got away with it. And everybody thought it was great. So, if you're feeling bored, type in on the YouTube search bar, type in Ask Blanche, and you'll get the first 3 cartoons. I'm working on the 4th one right now, and this one. It's not only going well, but the guy who does Ask Blanche is asking me if I might want to do more controversial stuff. And so I showed him my Brown Hornet parody. He's like, "Okay, so you don't have any shame." I said, "Not really." So there's going to be a lot more coming. But yeah, you can check out Ask Blanche and see my latest shenanigans. It's a lot of fun.
Nice.
So yeah, definitely moving forward. This weekend is C2E2 in Chicago. Usually I just stay at Jimmy's place because Jimmy lives in Chicago, and it beats driving an hour and a half and dealing with Chicago traffic, because that's a bunch of bullshit. Although Saturday night is going to be GTA night because we're still playing around with the new updates. Yeah, GTA, the Oppressor Mark II has finally been nerfed. The Griever's best friend in that game is shit now. Well. Yeah, it's still good because it's still very maneuverable, but things like the homing missiles are no longer as effective. One of the biggest problems with the Oppressor was you could shoot a homing missile if you're right next to your target, driving the other way, and it will do a 180 and chase after them. Not anymore. The targeting range for a homing missile is usually 30 degrees within the target dot.
Who thought it was a good idea to do that in the first place?
That's what we've been asking for the past 4 years, and they finally. You can't do your chaff or your countermeasures as often as you used to. Basically, you can do it once to get away, but you are a target after that. You are fucked. So, the Oppressor has been completely nerfed, which is a shame because we just got good at using the muskets to take out the flyers. So we don't need that anymore. But yeah, the Oppressor has been reduced to just another vehicle Thank God. So now that still leaves others like the Night Shark and stuff like that, where the Amani tech still comes in handy. So yeah, I have an Enos that I have the Amani tech, and I have oil slick mines. Oil slick mines are always funny, and yeah, that gets to be a blast when you're playing with it. But we were so busy testing out the oppressor and what it can't do anymore that we didn't really do any kind of a play session. And we got to get a play session in because Street Fighter 6 is coming out, and Chester's going to go hip deep in that when that comes out, because he's not only a Street Fighter fan, he's a Twitch gamer, so he can actually do things with the game. My win-loss record in Street Fighter was like 30%, and that was back. The last one I played was 3, because after that, it's so precise with the button combinations and stuff. It rewards people who really practice it, but I'm a strategic player. I'm not a Twitch gamer, so I can't pull off the moves. Basically, if I play Street Fighter now, I'm getting fucked. I sit down to play Street Fighter, I just look at the guy next to me and say, so you want your dick in my mouth, in my hand? What am I doing with it? But in Street Fighter stuff, I just watch him play because I know I'm never going to do it. Mortal Kombat, I'm still okay at, but not Street Fighter. But when 6 comes out, he's going to be hip deep in that, so we're trying to get some sessions with GTA in before he takes off. The Crispy Chicken Crew still needs our wheelman.
Nice. I've watched some folks do some of like the role play GTA stuff. It looks really fun.
Yeah, it's our first rule is no outsiders. We only game with ourselves on a private server because there's too many idiots there.
Fair.
I mean, the first time I went on a public server, I turned on the voice chat. I heard the N-word, and I never turned it on again. and we do have oh yeah, that's right. You guys don't know about this because I never talked about this on the show. The only exception is we have crosstown rivals. There's another group out of Chicago that we sometimes play with. They call their crew the Recess Monkeys. And sometimes we will pit ourselves against each other to see what happens. They're trying to rebuild because I think it was like 2 years ago, there was a garage glitch that let you make $2 million every minute. And anyone that partook in the garage glitch got their character reset completely. All RP, all money, everything gone. Well, all 4 of them partook of the garage glitch, and 2 of them decided to try and grind and get their way back in. The other 2 said they were going to quit and wait for GTA 6. They're back now.
Oh, they don't want to wait until 2048 to play GTA 6?
Yeah, it's GTA 5 is like the Skyrim of Rockstar games now.
You're not wrong.
So they turn up once in a while, but we still do our little challenges and stuff like that. We started doing it during lockdown because usually we didn't game online. We only played in an actual local area network in the same room because if someone wasn't playing the objective, you could hit them. And we tried doing Destiny 2's Leviathan raid online, and nobody could stay focused, and the whole thing was a disaster. And when lockdown started, it's like, well, GTA kind of rewards you for not playing the objective. Why don't we do that? And that became our saving grace through lockdown, and we're still doing it. Because with 6 around the corner, and especially with GTA Plus, it's not going to last too much longer. So we're just trying to get our last in while we can. But at least we're still getting
corner.
Well, I love GTA Plus. Yeah, you get an extra $500,000 GTA bucks, which is half a car now in that economy, every month. It's like, yeah, you can run Cayo Perico every 2.5 hours and get a $2 million payout each time. Guess which one I'd rather do?
That's fair.
Just grind, get yourself the Kasatka, and then just do Cayo Perico until you get the money you need. Yeah, we needed the monkeys back because the Crispy Chicken Crew was starting to turn against me. Because the reason I'm the boss is because I'm a thinker, so I understand the game better than they do. And one time they got sick of my bullshit, and so they pulled up outside of Eclipse Towers in tanks and started sticky bombing the entrance so that I could not get it. I saw them on my fucking security cameras. I'm like, I see you there. I see what you're doing. Now, when you're in this situation, the way you get out of the building is you just go through your apartment, you start drinking everything you can, whiskey, beer, wine, and eventually you'll black out and respawn at the hospital. And when I pop back up on the map, God damn it! Everyone lost their shit. So they were starting to get mad at me. So yeah, we needed our rivals back just so that they could take the heat now instead of me.
Fantastic.
Yeah, like I said, it could be a gas. You know what you're doing.
Well, that's fun. Well, Peter,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm so
glad you
kinda
could join us today to have a group therapy session over the fate of the DC Comics television and movie properties. Hope we all feel a little bit better.
I mean, the downfall of.
Yeah. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, Willie.
Fuck you.
Fuck me yourself, you coward.
No more Doom Patrol.
Well, maybe. Again, we don't know if that list is true. And as I've checked Twitter right now, there is no new news regarding the earnings call. So
there's a reality show penny puncher in charge. They're going to cancel everything that isn't naked people in the woods.
Well, Willie's going to be on their
new.
Willie's going to be on their new show called Penny Pinchers, starring Willie D. Nelson. He's literally just going to pick up pennies by pinching them. That's the premise of the show.
With my butt cheeks.
No, with your fingers and your toes.
No, I said what I said.
Oh, nobody wants to see
It's
that.
my show, Chris. How are you going to dictate about
that.
what my show with my name on is going to be?
Discovery will do it.
Yeah, probably. They'll just put it on Discovery
my
Plus.
Butt cheeks picking up these pennies.
Well, on that note,
Eagles all day, every day, baby.
You say what you will, it would be better than Real Housewives.
Doing it right now. Kegel.
Well, on that note, thank you for anyone who's listening to the recorded version of the podcast or the videos. We put it up on YouTube. Thank you to Logical Robot in the chat room who's been chatting with us throughout. Nice to see you. A greetings from the UK we're getting from them right now. So thanks. This 2 p.m. 2:30 start here in the U.S. paid off. We got a UK viewer this time. Like we said at the top of the show, this Warner Discovery stuff's in flux. So we're going to put this podcast out tomorrow, and it's entirely possible all the Warner Discovery stuff could have come out already. So if so, enjoy our opinions and guesses on what we thought might happen. And if they're all wrong, come and tell us next week on the show. That's the best.
They're just going to confirm everything we said. That's all.
I mean, probably. We're never wrong. Never.
Pain and gain, baby. Pain and gain.
And we made that movie happen.
Mm-hmm.
But before we shut this thing down, you guys have any final thoughts for the people?
Yes, I do.
Oh, God.
This is an announcement right now. I want everyone to send me their best Kegel face to @SouthPorky on Twitter.
Here's my final thought. Motorola phones eat all the ass in the world.
Except for this one.
Well, I don't think anyone could handle that much ass. So
exactly.
Yeah, you got a point. I concede that.
Oh dear.
Holy moly.
Oh dear. Bachman, you got anything for the people?
That whole
Discovery dipshit. Discovery dipshit.
On that note, then, we are going to shut this down. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you next week. Stay tuned to the Twitters for what time we're going to be going next week, because we don't know yet. We'll let you know. Bye, guys. Thanks for listening to this brand new episode of the All Things Good and Nerdy podcast. Don't forget, we'll be back next Sunday live at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central over at live.atgnpodcast.com, channel 3 of the Alpha Geek Radio app, and over at our network home at gonnageek.com/live. If you have any feedback for the show, please contact us atgnpodcast@gonnageek.com, on our hotline number at 304-806-ATGN, or even better, go to Twitter and send us a message at ATGNpodcast. The music you've heard in this show is produced by Kevin MacLeod and can be found at incompetech.com.